Morning, welcome, Life Point Crossing. My name's Ross. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, this is a picture of a picture, which I think is kind of funny, but this is something that was hanging on my wall in New Hampshire when Laura and I lived there for 12 years. And if you don't know, I did grow up a Celtics fan and a Larry Bird at the time. When I was young, that was that time. And so this isn't something that really meant a lot to me or that I would have paid a lot of money for. But Laura one fall was at a charity auction for a charity. It was a recovery home that she was a part of, helped serve and helped with them. And so she was there to donate money. And then I'm very, very difficult to buy for Christmas or whatever, even literally for my own wife. So she saw that and she said, okay, well, here's something. This is unique and he would like this. And so it'll work with all that. And so she got it for me. And it's pretty cool. And what you see here, though, is what do you even call this? Like a wall hanging? It's cool. It's authenticated. It's autographed. But whatever. That's its entire purpose, is to hang on the wall and to be cool and look cool there. Actually, if you notice the wall behind it, if you don't know, New Hampshire we were like an hour and a half from Boston, so it was very much the home team, and it was a really cool thing to have there. This is actually what I did to my office room in the house that we moved in there. I know you're all like, look at that hair. But that was a really cool, so you see how the Larry Bird thing was a really cool thing to have in the Celtics room, and that was the home team, and it was really just a wonderful thing. Well, when we were looking at moving here, of course, it's a little cooler to have a Celtics room there than it is in Missouri, and so I didn't figure I was probably going to do that. And when we were looking at moving, which I do not personally recommend, you can get really excited about turning things, which is something that you have to then pack up and load up and then unpack and unload. Really, the thing becomes a chore. So the idea of turning a thing into money becomes very attractive. And so I decided it was cooler to have there, so I'd put it on Marketplace and it sold quickly, and that was all fine, and I don't have it anymore. But that was its whole purpose, was just to be there and hang on the wall and look cool. Well, what am I doing now in New Hampshire with no Celtics? And I love the mountains. There's not really mountains here in the same way. Well, over the past several months, I've been having way more fun than I ever thought possible by buying and selling guitars and making use of the bigger population that's here that I wouldn't be able to do there. And so I've had so much fun bringing home all sorts of different guitars, more than I ever thought I would ever have, and some of them you either really, really like and you hold on to, or you just resell to pay for something that you might really like. And at one point, I had actually 11 guitars, which is way more than I ever thought I would, and of course, no intention on holding on to those. But here's one of the things, and see if you can follow this, is I buy a lot of guitars from people who are selling guitars, okay? And here's one of the things that you could guess about people who are selling guitars is they have guitars, okay? Very often plural. And so when someone's selling a guitar, they always say the same thing, which is usually probably even true, that, no, it's a really good guitar, there's nothing wrong with it, or, there's some nicks here and there, but here's where they are, they'll disclose all that. But it's just, I have too many guitars, and I feel like a guitar should be played, rather than just hang on the wall like a Larry Bird wall hanging. And so I know I've bought from at least a couple people who have guitar collections that are in the 40s. That's just a random picture from the internet, but 40 or 50-ish guitars, and that definitely is more than anybody could reasonably play. And the purpose of a guitar is to be played and to make music and to be enjoyed, and so they're going to pass it on to somebody who will do that. Well, then you start to hear about people who have real guitar collections. This is just another random picture from the internet, but hundreds of guitars. And most of these aren't even intended to, they got them not even intending to play them. In fact, some of them people will buy for the express purpose of remaining untouched and unplayed in the case just because they like to have them and collect them in that way. And a lot of people don't like that, and I don't know that it's really like a moral issue that it's wrong to collect guitars that you don't even intend to play, but it does kind of seem to me like the purpose of a guitar is to be played. Well, not a trick question. What's the purpose of a stable? Bizarre segue there. But you know that stables hold animals, house animals, and that animals can make a mess. You guys, if you have pets, you know even a small animal can make a big mess. And the kind of animal that you put in a stable make a really big mess. Mucking stalls is not a lot of fun. It does not smell like Cinnabon. You just want to get through, and even then, you're going to have to take a shower and wash your clothes and do laundry. It's a real commitment to have animals in a stable. And in fact, if your goal is to have a clean stable, well, you can do that. But the easiest way to do that is to just not have any animals. If you do want to have animals, if the purpose of the stable is to house animals, well, you can do that also. But then you know that there are going to be some very big messes. And of course, the purpose of the animal is not just to be in the stall, but not today exactly like 3,000 years ago. But you know that, particularly in the past, your ox, that was your combine, that was your plow, that was everything you needed to grow food. And so that brings us for today to Proverbs 14:4 that says, without oxen, a stable stays clean. Good news. It's great. Love a clean stable. Kind of feel a butt coming there, don't you? But you need a strong ox for a large harvest. You have a choice. You can have a clean stable if that's what you want. But a clean stable means no ox, and no ox means not much harvest. So you can have a good harvest if that's what you want, but that's going to mean you'll have an ox, and the ox is going to mean you're going to have some really big messes to clean up and to deal with. Well, again, bizarre segue, but I've been a part of the cleaning team here for however long. What's the purpose of the cleaning team? Well, I'll tell you that something that I tell myself to make myself feel better after a week of poor attendance is, well, at least the cleaning isn't going to be too bad this week. But that kind of is sad, isn't it? I'm so glad that someone else thinks that's sad, because the purpose of the cleaning team isn't to come in and look around and say, okay, well, this isn't too bad, and then go. It's to clean up after the people, particularly the people with the sprinkled donuts. The purpose of the people of the cleaning team is to vacuum up the sprinkles that are on the carpet. It's to take a look at that toilet that needs a little work and give it a scrubby scrub. It's to take out the trash so that things don't smell bad. But to have the clean team clean requires that there's going to be, or at least assumes there's going to be some people that are going to be making a mess. Well, why does the church need people? Well, of course, the purpose of the church is to glorify God. That happens in a lot of different ways, but basically all of them require people, right? The purpose of this church is to reach out and to help connect people who are far from Jesus to the bigger story that He has for them. And I know this can be hard sometimes, but to live a bigger story, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get to be famous and wealthy and you get invited to Travis and Tay-Tay's wedding. That really means that we make ourselves second and lose ourselves in the bigger story of loving and serving God by loving and serving the people around us. And so I say this in as many ways as I can, hopefully without sounding like I'm saying the same thing every week. But if you're here as a follower of Jesus to grow and to be more of a disciple and to live the life that Jesus has for you, here's real discipleship. Real discipleship isn't necessarily learning all the books of the Bible in order. That's good. We're as pro-Bible as you can be. But if you read the books of the Bible, here's what you find is they're telling you that the purpose of your life is to live for the glory of God by loving and serving the people around you. real discipleship isn't a study of all of the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John and learning about how all the places where they're really similar and why that is, and then some places where they're a little different and why that is, and did Jesus clear the temple once or did that happen twice? Look, I really like all that stuff. But that's probably why I'm here. But if you actually read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, what you find is over and over and over Jesus saying the way you find your life is by giving it up in service of something bigger, specifically by loving and serving God, by loving and serving the people around you. So every time you come here, we look at the Bible and we learn something, and that's really cool. There's no end to learning. There never will be. But we all probably know a little more than we do. So what if we just skipped to the do? Who's really the disciple? Is it the one who's reading a commentary to learn about Jewish hand-washing ceremonies around the time of Jesus? Or is it the one who's out bringing Jesus to somebody and impacting a person? But listen, if we do this, it's gonna make a mess. For the last couple decades, it's been really, really cool for churches to talk about, hey, we're the church that embraces the mess. We're the church that goes toward the mess. And that sounds really inspiring. Here's reality, is it's hard. You ever hear somebody say, well, our marriage went through kind of a rough patch, and you think, yeah, okay, you had a fight. We have fights sometimes, that happens. Now, here's probably what the rough patch really means is there was an affair, and then there was a revenge affair, and then someone was living at a hotel for a couple weeks, and the kids didn't know what was going on, and then we decided to work through it, and after 18 months of couples therapy, now we're in a pretty good place again. The rough patch doesn't sound that bad, but the reality is it's probably really hard. So a church with some messes, it's like, all right, we have a clean team, we'll vacuum, that's okay. That's not the reality. The reality is it's hard. The reality is that means that sometimes someone misunderstands something and gets angry. It means sometimes somebody properly understands something and gets angry. It means sometimes you just want to quit and go find another church or find something different to do with your life. It means sometimes you invest gargantuan levels of time and effort and emotion and money into somebody to have them walk away and curse you for it. It's hard. But when you get to see God really change somebody's life, man, it is so much more than worth it. At the end, in the middle, honestly, it isn't. In the middle, you're saying, why did I ever get involved with this? This is such a hassle. Now everything's difficult. But at the end, it really is more than worth it, which brings us to another proverb for today. The lazy person claims there's a lion out there. If I go outside, I might be killed. You can see how this kind of dovetails with the oxen and the clean stable. That if your goal is to not be eaten by a lion, good news, there's a strategy here for you. You just stay inside. That's probably going to be effective. But it's not much of a goal, is it? What if you want to actually do something with your life that's worth doing? Well, this is the real world where sometimes things go wrong. Sometimes there are very, very real negative outcomes that happen. But it's also true that if you decide to stay inside for fear of something bad happening to you, I mean, what are you even doing? You're really wasting your life by trying to preserve it. So here we are kind of as a church, as a community, and we have a life. So let's use it. Let's take some risk. Let's try and do something. And either what's going to happen is it will be glorious, or at least we tried. Some of you know this, and I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but as far as this message is concerned, I've been eaten by the lion. I'm not here to tell you it wasn't that bad. It was bad. It was really bad. I don't want that to ever happen again. in New Hampshire. We led a small church there for about 6 years, and if you don't know, New England is by far the least churched part of the country. God's there, churches are there, but it's about 3% of the population that claims a church affiliation. 3%. And so I thought, that sounds like a great place for a church. And so there's a lot of risk there, but that's a risk worth taking. And so we went, and when we were there, we took some real risks. And some things went actually pretty well. The church, it did grow, and there were some people who came to know and to follow Jesus and be baptized and have their lives and eternities changed, not in spectacular numbers, but pretty good for a smaller church. But then ultimately what happened was, it wasn't even that someone got mad and left. It was that at roughly the same time, 4 different kind of core families moved out of the area. And so just smaller church, the bottom fell out, and we had to close. The lion got me. And it was pretty devastating. I cried every day for a month. Made me kind of reconsider most everything in my life. My entire adult life had been either preparing for ministry or being in ministry, and then I didn't know if that was even something I wanted anymore. I didn't even know if that was something I was really equipped for in the first place at that point. But I will tell you that there was not 1 second where I was sorry that we tried. There was not a single moment when I thought, man, I wish we would have just played it safe and done something that I thought was going to be safe, even when that metaphorical lion was closing its giant maw down around me and snapping my emotional and spiritual bones into pieces. I was glad that I didn't stay inside for fear of something bad happening, because that would have been even worse. So I did some other things for a couple of years, specifically while our son finished high school. And if any of you ever saw or remember the Friends episode where coincidentally Ross is saying, "I can't be 3 divorce guy. I can't be 3 divorce guy." I never wanted to be, had the church close, pastor. I definitely didn't want to be closed 2 churches pastor. I want to be birth a couple daughter churches pastor. That sounds amazing. But when the time came, I started sending out some applications. I ended up here, been here for 3.5 or so years now. And in complete transparency and honesty, I am very seriously terrified of have 2 churches close pastor. I do not want that. But you know what I want even less than that? Is to stay inside for fear that something bad might happen. Right? I don't say any of this because this is about me. That's the exact opposite of this message. I say this because I am a person who has been through the worst case scenario, and I'm here to tell you that it is not as bad as not trying. Don't stay inside, you guys. If you go out, something bad might happen, but you will be happier with the bad thing happening than staying inside and wondering what if or never trying in the first place. So what are we going to do? Do whatever we can. You guys, we've talked about, you're going to talk about more in 2 weeks. We're having what we call fall launch. What that really honestly is an excuse to hopefully get some people excited and enthusiastic enough to not only come, but to bring some people with you. And we're going to be doing some things to try and make it fun. We're going to be serving lunch. We're going to have the foam party. We're spending some money on advertising a little bit. That runs the risk that the lion eats all that for no return. Yeah, it might happen. In October, we're going to do Treat the Street. If you haven't been here, if you don't know, it's just a late October kind of party for the community and the kids and whoever wants to come, and it's been good in the past. Hopefully, it'll be even better this year. Then before Christmas, we do a thing called Camp Christmas, which is just sort of a one-day thing for, again, kids in the community and their parents and families. And every weekend, we're here, and we try to have a service that is helpful and connects to people who are following Jesus and looking for their next step with that, and also hopefully connects and is comprehensible to people who are maybe coming from a background that doesn't have a lot of background in church or scripture or Jesus, and we invest a ton in these things. And you know why we do it? It's because the purpose of the church isn't to be clean. It's to connect people to Jesus. And so doing outreach things might mean that the lion eats us, but if we play it safe, we might be here in 20 years and have not made a difference, and that's worse. And so here's what we really need, is every week you hear me say this, but we love when you attend, your story really grows and you become a part. It's absolutely true. We need you to stop coming to Life Point Crossing and start being a part of Life Point Crossing. And the context in which I say that generally is serving, and it means that, but it means so much more than that. Okay, because here's how the church serves you best, is when you are pushed to give up your life in the service of something bigger than yourself, in love for God, by serving and loving God and people. That is discipleship. And so if you can make the turn from, this is really what this is, make the turn from, this is the church where I come and I receive something of value, to this is the church where I come and I contribute something of value. That's what it is to live the bigger story. And now the church is a part of a much bigger story. You don't just come, you're a part. Here's what this means very practically is, number one, you be a part by praying. If that sounds strange to you, then this is the mental shift that we need to make. I don't pray for McAllister's when I go to get a sandwich because they're there to serve me. And so if this is the church where you come, then maybe praying for it sounds strange. If this is the church where you're a part, well, you want to see God work and change somebody's life and be a part of that. You don't even need me to tell you to be praying for it. Of course you don't. Number two, as simple as this is by attending, and attending is a priority. Listen, I'm not saying dogmatically 52 weeks a year. I'm not here 52 weeks a year. Go on vacation. If you get tickets to the game, go to the game. Have a great time. But you make a difference just by being here more than you probably even realize. Number three is, of course, yes, serving. There are so many places to serve, from the cleaning team to the band to the tech booth to the cafe to the greeters to the lawn care team. Honestly, if you don't sign up and have any specific like official place, but you make your mission a conscious and consistent effort to make anybody who comes in these doors feel genuinely wanted and welcomed and valued, that makes a huge difference. A smaller church, especially like this, man, somebody cannot come in, feel ignored, and walk away. They took a risk by coming out to a church. That's the lion getting them. Man, keep the lion away from the people. And, oh, you guys, if somebody is ignored at the church that you go to, probably that's okay. Like if somebody gets bad service at the grocery store you go to, you probably don't care that much. If a person gets ignored at the church you're a part of, no way is that all right. Right? You don't just come. You're a part. Number four is to invite, right? Not the people in your life who are already going to a good church. That's fine, but the people maybe who don't have a church, it might feel weird. It might be awkward. The lion might get you. It could happen, but I would much rather live with that risk than live my life wondering what happened. And oh, you guys, if the person who you've been praying for and inviting comes, never before will you have been able to understand and appreciate everything that I just said about serving and people feeling wanted and welcomed and loved. That will be real to you like never, ever before. And of course, 5 is by giving. We talk about giving on some level every week. I generally try and be pretty casual about it. Here's the straight dope. I absolutely 100% do believe that tithing or giving 10% is biblical. I'm not saying God's mad at you if you have bad math or you do after taxes or it comes out to 9.2%. I don't even think I can in good conscience say that it has to be only and always at the local church, 503c, whatever organization that you attend. I'm not sure that's necessarily specifically biblical, but be a part by giving. There are some things that are paid in dollars. And I don't know if you can read this, it doesn't even really matter, but here's what this is. This is a card that Laura and I got quite a few years ago now, and I specifically choose it because it was from a time where I was not in a position like this. It was the church that we were a part of. And Laura had a friend at work named Sherry, and she actually was called Inappropriate Sherry, which is not the kind of person that Laura is normally drawn to, but they became friends, and they were friends, and so Laura brought her to the church, and then she brought her husband to the church. And then after a couple of months, we got this card. And if you can read, or if you can't, at the bottom, it just says, effectively, thank you so much for introducing us to God. Just a big thank you, Junior and Sherry. Sometimes the lion gets you. The lion's not getting Junior and Sherry, right? And you know what it took to have this happen? It was about 100 people all doing their part, all doing something to make it happen. But what do you want? Do you want a clean stable? Do you want a note from a friend who God changed their life? I mean, do you want some sort of safety and assurance that nothing bad's ever going to happen? Or do you want to be a part of something that is amazing and take a step out into the dangerous, and it is dangerous, but into the dangerous unknown and find out, listen, there's so much good here. God is here. This is a ministry that can have an unlimited potential and impact in people's lives. And we can have some messes that we will absolutely hate dealing with in the moment. Or nothing much really happens at all. So, no way do I want to waste my life trying to have a clean stable or in fear something bad happens. So, pray, attend, serve, invite, give. I don't know what'll happen. Man, but if we don't do anything, I do know what'll happen, and that's way worse. So I don't want to say who's with me like it's about me, right? But you guys, let's do this, okay? Together, right? Okay, doesn't ordinarily happen. All right, let's pray. Father, thank you so much that you do give us an opportunity to live a life that matters and to be a part of something that echoes not only into people's lives and destinies here in this world for however many years you give us, but into eternity for ours and for theirs and for your eternal glory. I'm still praying if you're here and for whatever reason maybe you find yourself at a church but you've never made the decision to commit to Jesus in the first place. And this was not a come to Jesus message. This was a help people come to Jesus message. But maybe you just feel something where you know that, man, that's what you need. Oh, I'll bet you are 100% correct. Every one of us, we have sin in our lives. There's things we've done that were wrong, and they create a rift between us and the perfect, holy God. And what can a human being possibly do to repay justice to the God of the universe? Of course, there's nothing, but that's why Jesus came and died and resurrected so that we could be forgiven. We take his righteousness, he takes our sinfulness, and you're forgiven as adopted children of God in the family forever. If that's you right where you sit, you can say to God out loud. You can just talk to him in your heart. He'll hear you. If you're watching online, it doesn't matter. Say, God, I believe that Jesus Christ came and died and resurrected so that I could be forgiven and be adopted as a child in your family. Please come into my life. Forgive me and adopt me. Begin to make me into the kind of person you created me to be, and give me the life that you have for me. If you just prayed a prayer like that, it's not the words or the prayer that saves you. It's that you put your faith in Jesus. God's grace comes to you through that. And you are a new spiritual creature. The best thing you can do is to not try and be alone from here. This is why there's a church. This is why there's people in community. If there's a friend that brought you, let them know. If you're here, you can go out and talk to the person at the point. That's just the corner in the lobby. Let them know the decision you've made. We'll be able to follow up with some good next steps. If you're watching online, send us a message. Let us know. For the rest of us, I don't know. It's up to all of us. It's up to each of us. But just between yourself and the Spirit of God, as the person whose role it is to stand here and talk and say, I just humbly ask you if you would be willing and be able to commit to give up a little bit more of your life, not for me, not for a church, not for an organization, but for the glory of God and the people around you, and trusting that what Jesus says is real and true, that it is through giving up your life that you find yourself and what he has for you. So whatever there is, if there's maybe one or two of those specifically where you feel like God's speaking to you and tugging on your heart, that you can not just come, but be a part. Oh, let's see what God will do. Let's just see what God will do. I do not believe that we have seen. Father, thank you so much that, again, you give us the opportunity to be here. Father, I just ask that by your Spirit, you give each one of us the strength and the courage and the follow-through to step into the decisions that we've made, to be the followers of you as individuals and collectively as a church that you've created us and called us to be. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Hey, LifePoint, I'm Melissa. I have a couple of things